This episode is brought to you by Meow Wolf. School's back in, but you're a grown-up and no longer live in fear of homework. So why not wander the worlds on Wednesday, September 4th after 5 p.m. with drink in hand for the glorious return of Meow Wolf Denver's Adultiverse. This 21 and up event features the live finale of Denver's premier cocktail competition, Garnish Games, plus music trivia with special guests from Bananas Fest, and a lot more fun, only for the grownly. Dive into the Adultiverse by visiting meowwolf.com to get your tickets. That's meowwolf.com. Today on CityCast Denver. The last few weeks have been blow after blow for old Denver. From the closure of beloved movie theaters to the loss of late-night pizza shops, the city feels like it's losing a lot of character. But what about the restaurants, bars, and attractions that are still around? We called on two Mile High lifers to remind us of the reliable spots that make Denver feel like Denver. Today is Wednesday, August 21st. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Politics and Green Chili correspondent Justine Sandoval, hello.
Hello.
And returning fave, a bar and bathroom expert, Skylar McKinley.
My
hi.
resume gets longer every week, regrettably.
I mean, to be fair, you both were really on the bathroom show, so... But we're not talking about bathrooms today. We're talking about, I feel like this happens every couple of years where we have a spate of closings of Denver, what feel like Denver institutions. So in recent weeks, it's been Benny Blanco's closing their Capitol Hill location after, this is crazy, you guys, almost 25 years.
Yeah, wow.
Is that nuts? The Mercury Cafe is for sale again, which I'm concerned about. And Chez Artiste and the Esquire both closed over the summer. But that's kind of like why I called on you both was we need like a ray of hope. We need some things that feel reliable to us in this city. And I think it doesn't matter how long you've been here, you've got some reliable spots. But Skylar, I know you had some thoughts on this Benny Blanco's-ish closure before we move forward.
Yeah, and look, I'll preface this by saying that I love Benny Blanco's and ate there a lot in my younger days, still eat there occasionally, and it's a staple of Cap Hill, and it's
Totally.
sad. It's sad when we lose these institutions because we feel like we're losing part of ourselves.
Yes.
When it's a bar, Barracuda's or others, I mean, countless others in that same neighborhood, you lose all the regulars who are cast to the wind. You're like, where am I going to go? How am I going to spend my time? I've been a victim and a survivor of regular bar closings over the years, and it sucks from the perspective of a customer. But having been on the other side of the bar, I can tell you that, in some ways, this is good news for these people. These are often family-owned businesses. Many times a closure, like it was at Barracuda's, is somebody's retiring, which in every other type of employment we celebrate, right? But when a bar owner retires and their kids don't take it over or they don't have kids,
We take it really personally.
and we're mad. And we say, like, this means the city's going to hell. When in reality, it's just someone retiring, which is good news. I would say it is sad when you lose these places. But also, I own a bar in a historic coal town of 900 people. It's been a bar since 1908. I took it over from a family that had it for 40 years. Folks were upset when Miss Shirley sold the bar. Folks were right to not trust me when I got the bar. But I got the bar. The town likes me. They like the bar. I'm happy to be there. It's the most important thing I'll ever do. And I would have never had that opportunity if Miss Shirley hadn't said, you know what, we're done.
I'm ready to be done.
Yeah. So there's always a new chapter with these things. That doesn't mean it's not sad and terrible when an old chapter closes. But the ray of hope is that, well, maybe your new favorite institution is coming in next.
Yeah, I love that perspective too. I mean, Justine, you've seen a ton of this over your lifetime here in Denver. And we've also found new places to make our favorites.
Exactly. And I think, as someone who's went through a lot of growing pains, seeing the city's change, that is the attitude you have to adopt. That places change, people retire, and it's okay. It's just part of the next thing to come that might be there another 50 years.
Right. There's room to make new places our favorite places.
And, I'll say anecdotally, just talking about the Contos family, which owns Pete's Satire, Pete's Kitchen, and so on. Pete, I did a story for Westward about the family a couple of years ago. Pete would always tell his kids, go do something else. There's no pressure for you to take over these restaurants, right? And most of them decided to. They decided to come back and be in the family business. But to the letter, every kid said, I was so thrilled that my dad didn't expect me to do this. And that's why coming back was a choice. I decided to be in the family business.
And that's the right kind of energy maybe
Exactly.
that they need. I'm glad you brought up the satire because we're all going to share some places that we feel are reliable to us. But we had a couple caveats. You are not going to mention the satire.
Or any of the Pete's properties.
Because we talk about that extensively. And then, Justine, when I reached out to you, you also said, I will not make Chubby's my place because we all know Chubby's. Chubby's is your place. For me, I decided I will not pick Lakeside because we all know how I feel about Lakeside. But so the first category here is just reliably, your reliable place here in Denver that's a restaurant or bar. Who wants to go?
Justin, you go first because I have a backup in case we agree again.
I mean, we're always in agreement, which is nice,
Yes.
but not great for the show. So actually, mine was Panaderia Rosales in North
Nice.
Denver. It's been there since 1976. Laura, the owner now, her father Jose opened it in 1976, and it's been a staple on that block since then. As times have changed, we still see it there, and it still has not really changed. The other buildings have been remodeled and stuff on the block. It's just very much still
You can still
Rosales. Oh yeah, and I mean, I grew up going there as a kid. That's where you go get the best bolillos, where you get your bread for your pozole season. When I was in high school, that's where we went every day for lunch to get a ham and cheese torta. And yeah, you just always know it's there. You always have been used to seeing that place, and yeah, it's one of my favorites.
This is a multi-generational place too, which is what I like about it. Is I remember not long ago, I feel like Isaac Vargas at Denverite did a great piece about the North High students that go there for lunch.
Yes.
And I think it's just one of those spots that, again, you don't have to have lived here your whole life to walk in there and get something that tastes good, and you will remember and say, oh, when I need this is the spot. I love that. I love that choice. Okay, Skylar, what about you?
I've got to go with this one, and this one I think is apparent to anybody who's been there, but it's got to be Bastions on Colfax.
Oh, I thought about this. I'm glad you picked it. I didn't.
It's the iconic now Denver restaurant. Patty Calhoun did some research on this from Westward. It's likely the longest single running location restaurant in Denver. And the same family has had it since 1937.
Wow.
That building they built in 1958. It's in its third generation. It has employees who've worked there for decades. So when it comes to the question of, is this place going to be around? Can I go to Bastions and not feel sad that it's leaving? I think it's going to be around. The family's committed to it. More importantly, the employees work there and they leave and they come back. And it's a time capsule. In the first place, it has an exceptional bar. And so my big problem with steakhouses generally is sometimes they're like, well, you have to just come here for dinner, right? But they have a full bar. Then you can decide, you know what, maybe I will have a steak now that I'm two in.
Yeah.
And so it's an exceptional bar. And then the restaurant itself is like no other in Denver. It's circular. There's multiple levels to it. There's grease. It's somehow both really clean and also produces more grease and grease smell than any steakhouse I've ever been in. It's got old lighting, and I think it's committed with its neon and with it relatively affordable fare for what it is to being there for people. So, would I eat at Bastions every day? No. Do I like driving by it every day? Yes. And when I have someone coming in from town who wants a special dinner or wants a Denver dinner, or if I'm celebrating something, Bastions is usually at the top of my list. And I can't imagine, 30 years from now that not being the case. It just has that timeless quality in a way that's very Colfax. It's the perfect Colfax steakhouse.
Agreed. If there's a steakhouse on Colfax, it had to be Bastions.
Right.
And I agree with you. I think also if you're an architecture junkie like myself, like you said, it's circular. It's built in a spiral. So you can sit in these low sunken booths up to the main floor, up to the top. There's a whole other area. And the bar sort of is part of that circle. And I agree. It's classic. It's stuck in time, but in a good way.
Right.
It's like the thing. And also the food is good.
The food is great. Yeah.
The food is good. It's reliable.
They're not taking any risks with
No.
experimental steak. It's like, it's what you want when you sit down at a steakhouse. It doesn't have some dumb one-syllable name.
Yeah.
It's resisted all the Denver restaurant chain.
pretentiousness.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Mine I picked was Looking Good Lounge.
Oh.
The good old Looking Good.
Sheridan and First Avenue. I have to say, this place has been around for 46 years, but it is a place that I've only come to know in the last couple of years. And not for any particular reason. I've lived on that side of town for almost 15 years, and we just started going there a couple years ago. And it has the thing that we're missing right now a lot, which is Pete's Kitchen has it, Looking Good has it. We're just struggling with the diner conversation, right? We don't have Denver Diner anymore. We don't have Tom's Diner. We don't have the Breakfast King. Looking Good fills that hole for me. Mm-hmm. And it's so, well, it's like I can take anyone there. That's the thing I love about it is like friends from out of town go there, but that's also our go-to for brunch spot. It's where we go for family dinners. And it's always, the service is great. The food is great. The atmosphere is it's like a little bit Elves themed, a little bit of, Greece because they're a Greek family. And they also have a bar. And so it serves many purposes in the neighborhood. It's a neighborhood place, but you can take anyone to it anytime.
Right.
And I love it. I just love it. My other runners-up was, I had Steuben's on there.
I think Steuben's is now a modern classic.
I kind of think so too.
Vesta's gone. I was going through a list of places I love that are gone. And, a lot of the Steuben's ownership group came up and Steuben's is still going strong.
It's got an atmosphere. It's got a very specific menu that's just so specific to itself. I had to look it up. I was like, how long has it been there? 2006.
Wow.
So, it's becoming one of those new classics. The other one I thought of was the Thin Man. The Thin Man feels like a bar that has been here forever. Yeah. And it may have been here for about 24-ish years, but it's like never not been here. And it's a place I would take somebody who's visiting. It's so cool. And it makes me feel that thing that makes Denver, I don't know, that unexplainable Denver cool feeling the Thin Man encapsulates.
And we don't have a ton of neighborhood bars anymore.
Yeah.
We have destination bars, but there aren't neighborhood bars. And the Thin Man, that's around the corner from my house.
Oh.
My neighborhood bar is the Satire, to bring it up yet again. But the Thin Man's literally 10 feet, from where I live. And it's the perfect neighborhood bar where like you just don't know, you don't know where to go. You're like, you know what, I'm just going to stop in the Thin Man for one. And then you're transported.
Oh, it's just the interior is gorgeous. The service is great. The bartenders are great. And it's one of those, it's a neighborhood. It's on a strip. It's amongst some other restaurants and coffee shops.
Reliably open until 2 a.m., which is great. I mean, if somewhere else is closed, it's 1:14 in the morning. You just need a drink. I guarantee you that Thin Man's going to be open, and there's going to be people there.
I love it. I love it. This episode is brought to you by Wana Brands. Wana Optimals are a line of plant-powered gummies from Wana Brands, Colorado's #1 cannabis edibles brand. These are not your traditional cannabis gummy because they're not just about getting you high. They're meant to provide specific wellness effects. Some of them are even non-intoxicating. The Optimals line includes 2 cannabis-powered non-groggy sleep aids, Fast Asleep and Stay Asleep gummies. I'd love to take one of those and just lay on the couch and watch Love Island and not think about anything because I still don't know who wins. I'm 6 episodes from the end. Looking just to chill out? The Optimals line also includes stress and pain relief formulations. Then there's the brand new Quick Lift formulation, a delicious clementine shine flavored gummy calibrated to deliver a mood-lifting euphoric high that can help you feel more tuned into your surroundings. To learn more or find a dispensary near you, visit wanabrands.com/optimals. That's Wana with 1 N, WANA, and Optimals with an S. wanabrands.com/optimals.
The land down under has never been easier to reach. United Airlines has more flights between the U.S. and Australia than any other U.S. airline, so you can fly nonstop to destinations like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Explore dazzling cities, savor the very best of Aussie cuisine, and get up close and personal with the wildlife. Who doesn't want to hold a koala? Go to united.com/Australia to book your adventure.
Okay, our second category is just the reliable place that isn't a restaurant or a bar, because I feel like those are easy for us, right? But there have to be other places that, like, as we go through these changes as a city, where do you go? What's the place that makes you feel like home? And again, I want to emphasize home, whether you've been here for 20 years or 5 years or your 5th generation. I think there are these places that you can walk into and they feel good to you. Justine, what was yours?
So I was thinking about this one and trying to go, through my head. What are those places as a lifelong Denver, right? I actually went here a few weeks ago to check out the Orca exhibit, and my pick is the Denver Museum of Nature and Science.
Nice.
Because I walked in and I was instantly transported back to
elementary school field trips.
Elementary school, which was the best. And there's still some very classic things there, like the saber-toothed tiger, where you can put your money and he roars. And
also, he has new roars they added in the last couple years.
Oh my!
So you can get the classic, but you might also get like a cat's meow. So they've updated some of it. But I love that because it's like, no matter where you went to school, you went somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And it gives, I feel like it
I
can
think
give you
that
those
mummy
feelings.
that they had was the first time I ever thought about death as a concept, which was not the point of the field trip, where you have to confront your own mortality in first grade. But I'm like, why is there a mummy here? What happened to that guy?
Oh.
There was a lot of Egyptian stuff in the 90s. I remember that. But
It's actually over 100 years old. I went into my deep dive on the museum and I found out it's over 100 years old. It actually was officially founded in 1900 and it opened its doors in 1908. And it's had additions throughout the years. It's grown. I think they're currently updating it right now.
They're in the midst of one.
So, and it's had a few name changes through the years, but it's been here and it's actually a major part of scientific research here in the West. And they actually do science there as well as
you
have a
can see
museum.
them, which is so cool.
So it's just so cool. And I remember that. And I just know that that's a place you can always go back to, reignite that child in you. I remember having lunch there as a kid and seeing that view of downtown is always great from that back observation deck they have. So I just think that that's one of those tried and true places that you can always go and have a good time. The Denver Museum of Nature and Science.
That's a great spot. I have to say, that's one of my favorite places in the city, too. Also, I'll give a shout out. Their gift shop is phenomenal.
the best.
If you need gifts for any occasion, this is like a great store. They have one of those freestyle pop machines in their cafeteria, which is really good. The food is pretty good. There's just it's got a little bit of everything. And also they do the late Friday nights, late night. You can get a beer, walk around in the weird dioramas. It's got a lot of ambiance that's hard to replicate.
Yeah. I remember I was always sad because I think it was the class of 99 at North had their prom there. And I was like, I want to have our prom at the
I'm so jealous.
the museum.
Ours was in an
Mine was at the
janky
Shriners.
hotel.
Oh, I was at Al Jabal.
yeah.
Oh, was yours at El Jabal?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm jealous. Mine was at the Executive Tower, which is some crappy office building.
Oh, yeah,
downtown,
I know.
But, whatever. Skylar, what about you? What's your non-restaurant or bar for
Yeah,
this?
so let me just walk you through my thinking on this because my gut reaction when you first asked me this was going to be Rockmount Ranchwear, which is the
great
the
store.
inventor of the Diamond Snap shirt, founded in 1946. It's a jewel box of a store. They've had the retail location since 2005. I frequent it. I wear a lot of snap button shirts. I feel at home whenever I'm there. All the employees know my name. Steve Weil, the owner, is there. It's third generation. The reason that wasn't my pick is because I think there's some open questions as to who takes it over after Steve decides he no longer wants to do it.
Fair.
And so it's will it be Rockmount if there's not a Weil at the head? And then also, these are expensive shirts. It's like $100 or more for a shirt. And if you walk in there's an expectation that you're buying something. It's a clothing store.
Sure.
So it's not a great place just to feel
hang out.
like you're in Denver. So my actual pick, and I thought long and hard about this, has to be the 20th Street Recreation Center.
Oh, my
which is the
gosh.
best gym of any type in Denver.
Yes.
That's where I learned to swim.
Right, exactly.
That's where I learned to box.
You learn to there's boxing, there's yoga, there's a great weight room. You can do pottery in the
It was
basement.
our first literal bathhouse where folks could use the bathroom and take a shower.
Yes, founded in 1908, so the people of Denver could have bathhouses or take a bath by Mayor Spear. It's just got so much history in there, and it retains that. So it's first and foremost a great place to work out. I also work out at Carla Madison, which is fantastic. But Carla's huge and new,
brand new,
and it's packed. And then you go to 20th Street, and you might be the only person in there.
Right?
You feel like you're in Rocky. You're like, oh yeah, I'm training. Or you'll see some guys who've clearly been going there for 40 years.
Oh, they're my favorites.
Yeah.
The regulars there, and their staff is always so nice. Shout out to my old boxing coach, Mo Davis. Loved him. He's an old 5 Points East Sider, grew up here, and he taught. I know that was not probably the most profitable job, but he was so devoted to that class, and also the woodwork. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful building.
It's beautiful. It's got so much attention to detail. It's from that era when we were doing great municipal public works.
Yes.
And then also it's got sort of, for lack of a better word, a Harry Potter quality to it where you're like, where does this staircase go?
Totally.
And you're like, oh, I'm in the boxing gym. And it's like, and the staircase leads up from the showers.
Yeah.
And so every time I go there, and I go there pretty frequently, something always surprises me. And it's one of those places where we can count on it so long as people know how important it is to us.
Yes.
I think, when it comes to something like a rec center, a city's always going to be inclined to build a Carla Madison and less inclined to maintain a 20th Street. But that place serves the community. It's got a community room. Again, you can do pottery in the basement. It's featured in Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, the movie, right?
Oh.
So that we have to keep 20th Street Recreation Center. And so it's important for me, even as much as I love having a quiet gym, that listeners to this be like, oh, maybe I should try working out there once.
It gets the job done. It has what you need. The other thing I want to say too is about the boxing program is a couple years ago there was this move to sort of make all of the rec centers uniform. And if we know anything about rec centers, they are very reflective of the neighborhoods that they're in. The programming at 20th Street was really centered around the boxing program, and they were trying to get rid of it essentially. And there was this huge move by Coach Baca, who taught the youth boxing there, to save it.
That to me is insane
because
growing up in East Denver, like boxing was a big part of the culture, Golden Gloves and all of these like competitions. And that's 20th Street Gym is where everyone in the neighborhood went and carried on that tradition of like youth boxing and, Golden Gloves and all of that. So to think that they would take away that to me is like just insane.
It was really scary. They still have a boxing program. I'm not sure about the youth program, but like it is so integral to that place. It's just what makes it feel special. I love that choice. Thank you, Skylar. That's a nice walk down memory lane. Justine. Oh no, you went. It's me.
It's your own.
Yeah. So I had to pick somewhere Colfax as well. And I picked a store that is very, it feels very reliable, comfy to me in Denver because I'm a witchy person, and I picked Herbs and Arts. I love this store. It's been open since 1993. I know in the last decade or so, it's become more popular. So there's more like, I don't want to say curated, but like kind of like fancier looking versions of this store around, which I equally like. You can get candles, you can get herbs, you can get things for spells. But Herbs and Arts has like the witch vibe so hard, and it's on Colfax. So you've got that element, the types of people that are going to come in to get the herbs for their tinctures or come to get the candle for their love spell or whatever. And the staff is so cool and so witchy and so nice. And I was just like, I don't know what I would do if this place didn't exist. It's one of my favorite spots. Well, you guys, this was so fun.
Yeah, these are great questions. I'm glad you asked for this one.
Yeah.
It was so nice to stroll down memory lane. And I think to your point, like I walked here and I walked past Benny Blanco's, and it's sad that we're losing these places, but the opportunity to then realize and the opportunity to cherish the things that we know we would miss is something that you don't miss your water till your well runs dry, right?
Right. So go to the places that you love, or even if you haven't been there in 10 years, go back to it. Yeah. It might reignite something in you. Or the other thing I love to do is introduce people to a spot that I love. Even if I haven't been there in a few years, like especially if they're new to the city, you've got to try this place because you're going to love it for these reasons. I think we have a good mix here.
I think so.
Good job, you guys. Thank you, Skylar. Thanks, Justine.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we want to hear from you too. Whether you've been here for 6 months or 6 generations, we want to know. What are your favorite places to go that feel reliably Denver? Maybe it's a restaurant that feels like it's never changed. Maybe it's a park that Denverites have enjoyed for over 100 years. Whatever it is, we want to celebrate the good stuff in case these places go the way of Benny Blanco's. Text or leave us a voicemail with your name and neighborhood on the Old Denver hotline, and you might hear it on the show. That number is 720-500-5418. Again, that number is 720-500-5418. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell the staff at 20th Street Rec Center about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later.
My little nephew, when he turned like 13, we're like, what do you want to do for your birthday? He's like, I want a steak and a gold chain. So I got him this like fake gold chain, and I took him to Bastion's, and he was so happy.
Oh my God.
I still have his picture with his gold chain and his steak. So I just think of that place. I think
To be 13.
I know. He's like, I want a gold chain and a steak for dinner. I'm like,
That's how
all
you
right.
become a gold chain guy.
Yeah.
It starts at 13.
You start at 13,
You never take it off.